page 51 in the Nalef. Shleishim Shaleved starts with the 30 coins of a slave. If someone kills a slave, not someone, rather, if an animal kills a slave, so the owner of the animal has to pay 30 coins, and then Chamishim Shalaynas, the 50 coins that someone that rapes a girl has to pay, V'Shamafat, and someone that seduces a girl that he has to pay. Now, what happened here is that the Mishnah starts off saying that the 5 coins of the Pidyon Aben are B'Manat Suri. Then it goes on to say the 30 coins, the 50 coins, the 100 coins, all of them are B'Shekel HaKodesh B'Manat Suri. The question is that if you introduce this by saying it's B'Manat Suri, then you don't have to close the sentence with repeating the beginning of the sentence. One of my teachers used to teach, the way he would phrase his question was, so what does Rabbi Yochanan mean? What does Rabbi Yochanan mean? I don't know where that style comes from. But here what happened is it repeats the first point again. It doesn't have to say that again. Gemara says, Hasul Amali. Gemara says a question, why do you have to repeat that? You already said it. Atana Le Reisha. 51a. Was already taught in the beginning of the Mishnah. The Gemara says, Einas u'metishemra itztrich. The reason why it's repeating it is because I could have thought that maybe the first part of the Mishnah is different than the second part of the Mishnah. In other words, the list would be divided in half. And I would think the following, that some of these cases, it actually says that you have to give shekel kesef. And it gives, shekel is a certain weight. And it tells me it's a certain amount. However, some of them just say kesef. Now kesef, I could have thought maybe is instead of a shekel, it could have been a dinar kesef, which is only a quarter of a shekel. So I could have thought that yes, it's tsuri, but it's not b'shekel HaKodesh b'manat tsuri. So it has to explicitly spell it out, that those cases where even though in the pasuk it doesn't say shekel, it still means shekel. So it goes like this. Sal kadait chamina, could have entered your mind to say, given like siv behu shkolim, because in those verses it doesn't say the word shekel, which is an ancient weight, which means a selah. So ema zuzi ba'alma, maybe it's just a regular zuz. Zuz is a dinar. That's an old coin, which is a quarter of the coin that everything else is. Kamashman de melech kayal me'adadi comes to teach us that we learn one from the other. How do we learn one from the other? It's called a hekesh. It's an analogy in the psukim. One pasuk says the word kesef. The other pasuk says the word kesef. Just like over there, it's shekel kesef. Over here also, it's shekel kesef. So that we learn from the word what it's referring to. Now it says chutz min hashkolim. Except we can use even shava kesef, even value. It doesn't have to be actual money. It could be even the value. Did we adjust the air conditioning?
I just put it down to
good. So
a couple notches.
What does it mean chutz min hashekel?
Well, it's actually, that's a quote from the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that you can use shava kesef. You can use, doesn't have to be mamish the coin. You can use anything that has the value of it.
It's not a continuation.
No, it's not a continuation, no. Chutz min hashkolim, except when you have to give a shekel, then you can't do the value. It has to be an actual shekel. And it goes on to say a list of other things. Tana, the Brisa taught, chutz min hashkolim, except for shkolim, umaiser. When it comes to redeeming meiser, you can't use value. It has to be actual money. Sometimes when someone's upset with someone, so he wants to pay, he borrowed money, he doesn't want, the guy bothered him so much to pay him back, so it gives it back to him in pennies or something. He says, what do you want? It's money. You want the money? Here's the money. He gives him like a huge thing of pennies. That it just like annoying, or maybe that's he collected soda cans or something, and he has just all this
people do.
change.
They go to the bank to pay the mortgage with pennies. I've seen it before.
So it gets worse if you can use shava kesef. If you can use things of value, you show up with a big package of toilet paper or something and say, here, this is the value. and then, so we said that many things you can pay with value, except for shkolim, meiser, v'harayan. Rayan is the oilas riyah. Someone goes to the temple, he has to bring a carbon, because you're not allowed to see God's face empty-handed. So you have to go with the sacrifice, and the sacrifice has to be shtei ma, the value of 2 ma, which is a small coin. So it says that those have to be paid for with the actual coin. Shkolim, where do we know that shkolim needs to be the actual coin? You can't show up with something of value of shkolim. The Tanan mistar from shkolim l'darbainus b'fimasi aderech. Let's say you don't have to have every single. The shkolim are given once a year. In March, in Adar. Machzis shekel. And people would take it from the city, from the community. They would take it to the temple. So if it could weigh a lot of, so what they would do is they would take it all and they would exchange it for a larger coin, for a golden coin. And then when that was lighter. Then when we get to Jerusalem, they would exchange it back. But it says that you have to exchange it for a coin. You can't exchange it for a diamond, because we don't know the market value could change, and it could come out that the temple will lose money if you don't exchange it for a real coin. They're thinking that the currency is stable. Everything else isn't. I don't know if that's the fact, if that's more stable, but there was a concern that people are not buying diamonds anymore, so the price could go down. The temple will lose
dollars.
out.
They knew that. Paper, yeah.
Meiser, what about Meiser? Where do we know that from? That Meiser, what happens is if someone has his tie that he needs to bring to Jerusalem, to eat in Jerusalem, but it's a bunch of fruits, it's a bunch of jackfruits. No, it's
heavy.
What's it called? Is it only fruits? No, it's not only the fruits of Eretz Yisrael. It's all his produce.
Right there.
It's all his produce. So the first Meiser goes to Levium. The second Meiser Sheni, is brought to Jerusalem. So he doesn't want to schlep it, so he exchanges it for coins. But it has to be real coins. How do we know that? The word bitzarta probably means that you bind it, or you tie it in a bag or something. But tsura, it has the word tsura on it, which means a face, which means a minted coin. It means it has to have a face. It can't just be a blank. It needs to be a real coin. So over there we see that you can't use value, it needs to be a currency. Barayan, and this is not a strong proof because it's from Rabbi Yosef, it's not a Braisa. Tani Rabbi Yosef Shleyavi Sigla Azar. Our problem is that we don't want you just to bring silver, because that could be, I think the world, is it moldy? Unrefined silver. We don't want you to bring unrefined silver into the temple, because that is going directly into the temple. The Mishnah says, in Paidin, you can't redeem a firstborn son, Leiba Avadim. A firstborn son could be redeemed with value. It doesn't have to be actual currency. So, but the Mishnah says, but you can't use a slave, you can't give a slave to the Kohen that's worth 5 coins and say that should be a redemption for my son. You can't give the Kohen a document that says that someone else owes you money, an IOU from someone else, and say you can go collect it from him. It has real value. It has to be the actual value, not
A future
potential value that you can get from it.
Question.
Yeah.
Does the coin have to be from Israel?
No.
No, it can be
No.
from Rome,
No,
or it can be from Egypt.
The half shekel was not that really coin for the most part.
Right. It just had to be a coin. No, it didn't. It did not have to be a coin. It could be. It could have any value. It could even be a blank, silver. Just a blank. Because it just needs. By the other things, it needed to be a coin.
I think he's going back to the other
But
things.
to the Meiser, those things that we needed a coin, it doesn't say that it needs to be from Israel. They used Roman coins. And you can't use property. You can't tell. Oh, this is so strange. We had before that the Kohen was going to take away a sold property.
Right. There's a star and a base here.
Okay. Now you have to tell me, don't ask any questions. And then we have to save time. Okay, v'lei be'ekdeshus, and not with things that are sanctified. The Gemara is going to ask on this, what do you mean things that are sanctified aren't yours? You can't give that away. We're going to discuss that soon. Kasav l'kayin shu chayav litin chamisha slaim, s'chayav litin la'yabrein apadi. This is incredible. This is a guy that really wants to do the right thing, but he probably doesn't have the money. So he goes to the Kayan, and he says, look, I owe you the money. Let me just write a document that I owe you the money. So he writes a document that he owes the Kayan 5 coins. Now the truth is, we already have a document that he owes the Kayan 5 coins. It's called the Tyra. So
What's that?
So now he has another document that he owes the Kayan. So what he does is now he goes to the Kayan and he gives him 5 coins. His son is not redeemed.
But the terrorist document is not for this kind specific.
Right. Right.
So
But now when he gives the Kayan the money, his son isn't redeemed because he paid up his own document, not the thing. As we'll see, that it's really a takana. It's not a minatayra. It could be different. Lefikach, therefore, Matzah Kayan Litin Le Matana Rashai. The Kayan can give him back his money afterwards. So that would be acceptable, and that way he can do this. Hamafresh Pidyon Benoy. If someone separates the money, has it all ready, put it in a bag especially for the Kayan. But it gets lost. Chayiv Bachar Yusay. He's responsible for it. And Shenemar Yelacha Ufadei Sifta. Yelacha is
Don't lose it.
is the conclusion of the pasuk. I have a chumash here, and this one doesn't have the.
Why would we
one.
think he's not responsible for it?
Well, maybe because he said there's certain things that are sacrifice that someone says this would be a sacrifice, and then it gets lost. So he doesn't have to bring another one. He already said this one.
And you can't say there's a bundle of things over there. It has to be with him. He has to bring it with. You can't say to him like, "Hey, in Chicago, I have something."
You want the pasuk?
A mafresh.
Yeah, tell me the pasuk.
Okay. Kol peterechem l'chol basar sheyakriv l'Hashem ba'adam u'bebehema yelecha achpadot sifteh esbechor adam esbechor behema hatmeya tifteh.
So
those read
the last part of the pasuk was that there were 2 phrases there, but the end of one phrase was yelecha,
right,
and then the next phrase says ach padisifta, but you should redeem. Is it the difference between a kosher animal, or is it a firstborn son?
Esbechor adam esbechor behema hatmeya.
Oh, you
Tifteh.
okay. So certain animals you have certain your sons, and certain animals you have to redeem. So, but the end of the last was it should be for you, and for it stated every firstborn of the womb shall be yours, and the next to that it says you shall surely redeem. So that says that it needs to reach the Kayan in order for it to be redeemed.
That's what Rashi says. Okay.
Masnisin de like Rebbe. Our Mishnah is not like Rebbe. The Tanya, Rebbe is the author of the Mishnayos. And when he put together the Mishnayos, doesn't mean he put his own opinion in everything. He edited the Mishnayos. He collected from earlier places.
Which Rebbe?
Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Rabbi Yehuda the Prince. The Tanya was taught. Rabbi Aimer B'chol Paidin. Rabbi holds differently. Rabbi holds you can use everything. B'chor Adam to redeem a firstborn son. Chutz min hashtar. The only thing you can't use is a document that someone else owes you money. That you can't use. But everything else, avadim and karkais, that you could use. My time with the Rebbe. What's the reason for Rebbe? So Darish Riba Yumiyuti. Rebbe Darshans. See, there's 2 ways of looking at a verse. The verse says the same thing. The question is, how do we view it? One way is very famous. It's called the Klal Prat Klal. If it has a generality, then it gives us details. Then it goes back and it says it in a general way. So the way that we would learn from that is really, it's coming to include everything, because it has those 2 generalities. So what's the detail? The detail is coming to tell me that it's going to exclude things that are similar to the detail. Or it's going to...
Right, it's going to exclude.
It could be.
It's going to exclude because it brought it up.
Because those
Otherwise,
details are going to
left it-
exclude similar to the detail. In other words, anything that's in the category of the detail is going to be excluded from the generality. It's not just the detail itself, but even more than that. Things that are similar to that. Now, there's another way of doing it. It's called Riba Yumyuti. It's an inclusion and an exclusion. Not generality and detail, but inclusion and exclusion, and it's the same pasuk. But when we look at the generality, we call it an inclusion. Okay, so the Rebbe does the inclusion and exclusion. The pasuk says like this: you should redeem from 1 month old. You shall redeem. That's riba. And it's redemption for 1 month old. You shall redeem. That's including. Be'erkacha kesef chamisha skalim miyat. How much should you use? 5 silver coins. That's an exclusion. And then it says tifta, you shall redeem. So redeem doesn't tell me with what. Now the truth is, when you look at the pasuk, it's actually not so simple, because upaduv ben chodesh is the first rule. Then it says the word tifta right next to it. Do you have the full pasuk there? Let me look on the Hebrew side. Where they quote it. Upaduv ben chodesh tifta be'erkacha kesel chamisha shkalim b'shekel hakodesh esem gerahu. So the tifta, it really has 2 inclusions right next to each other. P'duv ben chodesh. You redeem it from, it has the word padi, you redeem it for 1 month. Then it says you shall redeem. And then it has the detail of how much you need to use. What's going to happen here is that we're going to take one of those possibly inclusions and throw it at the end. It's like a sandwich with 2 slices of bread on one side, and then the salami on top. So what we're going to do is we're going to we're going to imagine that it's on the other side. All right. So what Rebbe does is like this: riba miyah to riba. This is an inclusion, an exclusion, and then again an inclusion. Riba hakol. It includes everything. My Rabbi, what's it including? Rabbi Kol Mili. It includes everything. You can redeem your firstborn son with anything, because it says
the miyuta is not going to exclude anything.
My miyut, so what does it exclude? Miyut shtaris. Over here, you only exclude one thing.
This is Rabbi said only shtaris.
That's why only shtaris. Rabbanan darshi klal prat. Rabbanan say that it's a generality and a detail. How does it go? Upaduya of men chedesh klal. You redeem from 1 month. That's a generality. Be'erkacha kesef chamisha shkalim is prat. How much you use? 5 coins. That's the detail. Tifta, you shall redeem. Chazar klal goes back and it tells us the generality. Klal prat to klal. How do you do that? Generality, detail, generality. Yatadan el kana prat. You can only include things that are similar to your detail. Ma pratim first davra metaltal v'gufei mammon. Just like the detail is what? Is silver coins. So just like the silver coins are something that's movable, and they have intrinsic value, they have actual value. It's not that you can get value from it, and it's movable. Afkal davra metaltal v'gufei mammon. You can also use anything that's movable and has intrinsic value. So what is this excluding? Yatsu karkais, shein metalflin. You can't use land, property, because that doesn't move. Yatsu avadim shikshal karkais, and it excludes slaves. That there's a Gemara that says slaves are similar to land. And Yatsu shtarais, it excludes documents of debt. Shaf pisha metalflin, even though you can move them around, but in gufamammon, but they don't have intrinsic value. It just has power to get some value from it. Amalei Ravina leMareimar. So Ravina says to Mareimar, that's I don't have Mareimar here, but yesterday we had Ravacha Breder Ravina, and he was the Ravacha Breder Ravina was the kohen that Ravashi gave the money to, and Ravashi wanted to change, and he wanted more. So Ravina is either this one or that one, and Mareimar is somewhere towards the end, I think. Towards the end of the Talmudic period. So, the Rebbe Riba Yamiyuti Darish. This is so strange. We have other Gemaras where Rebbe doesn't do this. Rebbe doesn't do the Riba Miyut Riba, which means inclusion, exclusion, inclusion. He does the Klal Prat Klal. He does it the other way, which limits it much more. at least in other instances. So why over here is Rebbe doing it different? We're going to answer at the end. We're going to answer because this is a strange klal prata klal. Rebbe doesn't want to do it because you have both klals together.
Oh.
So that's going to be our
I was
answer.
going to say, but all the
it's gonna
klals get used once at least. Every klal has to.
Right.
Otherwise, why
Right,
would it
but
be
I
there?
have two ways of looking at every pasuk. I can view it like this. I can view it like that. I can do it. If it's a riba miyat riba, it includes so much more. The klal prat klal limits it to the klal, to the prat much more. It reduces it. So Rebbe usually does a klal prat klal, and here he's doing the riba miyat riba. So he's questioning that. But Rebbe klali prati darish. Rebbe usually does it the other way. The martzeya, by the all, the slave that wants to stay because he likes his wife, his new wife, and family in the slave house. So the owner has to put a hole in his ear. The Tanya was taught martzeya. He puts a hole in the ear with the awl. Only ela martzeya, only know an awl. It's meant for making holes in leather. Minayin, how do we know? L'Rabbi Sasul, something that's pointy. V'asira, or a thorn, v'amachad, or a needle, v'amakdech, or a drill, v'amichtav, or a pen. Talmud Loimar, Pasuk tells us, the teaching says, v'lakachta, you shall take. You shall take an all. That extra word, you shall take. That tells me that anything that you could take. L'Rabbi's kol davar nilkach biyad. Anything that you can take in the hand. Divri Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, that's Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yomer, Rabbi says, martzeya. It says in all. Ma martzeya miyuchad shel mateches. Just like a martzeya is metal, afkol shel mateches, it needs to be metal. V'amrina, and we explained, b'may kamifligi, how do they come about with this machlokes? They said that Rebbe darsh klal prat. Rebbe darsh in the klal prat, and therefore he's so limiting. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda darsh Rebbe miti, and Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda did it the other way, which is less limiting.
So why over here?
Why over here is he doing the
riba?
riba? Where it says in.
We learned that previously. How did we learn it then?
Yeah, exactly like this. Let me test, right? So let me test. Let me Zion. Last time we learned this, it was on a Shabbos. No, it wasn't on a Shabbos. I'm sorry.
It's locked.
I was looking for my notes in the.
But there's no notes that day.
No notes. It's Shabbos. Yeah.
So
Over here we were discussing a mum, and we're talking about how big something on the ear, how big the hole is to make it a balmum. Discussing if a kohen could become an eved, because it's going to make him a balmum.
Oh,
remember that Gemara? If you could. Okay.
So riboy ma'imiyot riboy is more machmir.
Is more. It depends, but it's more inclusive.
Right.
Klal prat. This emphasis is more on the prat.
So why is this
Klal
case
prat.
stars something special?
So the Gemara now says like this. You're correct. Ba'alma Rebbe klali prati darsh. Usually Rebbe does the klal prat. V'acha kedetana de Rabbi Shmuel. But over here we have an issue with the Tana de Rabbi Shmuel, a teaching that was taught in the house of Rabbi Shmuel. The Tana was de Rabbi Shmuel was taught in the house of Rabbi Shmuel. B'mayim shtei panim. This, I don't know if we'll remember, this was a long time ago, maybe 6 months ago. We were discussing things that don't have fins and scales in the rivers, not in the ocean, or in the creeks or in the streams. Do they need it over there as well? So over there it said that kol sheyishne snaper b'kaskeses b'mayim, and then it says mayim again. We wanted to know if it says, but no, it says bayamim b'necholim kol asher b'mayim, anything that's in the water. So it had
twice.
It had mayim twice, and it had rivers and streams also. And over there we wanted to say that we were going to take the mayim and put it at the end. So it would be a generality, a specific, and then a generality, even though the two generalities were together. So, it was taught that if you have the two generalities, you don't do it as a generality, you do it as a ribui miyat. Rabbanan Amri, the Rabbanan say, we do what they did in the West. Anytime they have two generalities that are one next to each other, and then the details come later, just take the details and put them in the middle, sandwich them in the middle, and then we'll have a klal prat klal, and you read it that way, and you expound on it that way. So the machlekes here is when you have such a generality, and then the detail, how do you view it according to Rebbe? That's the Rebbe puts it. Rebbe says that it's yes, you put it in the middle, but it's looked at as a generality, as a inclusion and an exclusion.
So why is Rabbi Shmuel a problem?
No, he holds like Rabbi Shmuel. Rebbe holds like Rabbi Shmuel. That means that when I do this,
so because this case had Rabbi Shmuel, so he went with Rabbi Shmuel.
Because it has two generalities in a row, Rabbi Shmuel says that you don't view it as a generality, you view it as an inclusion.
Okay, fine.
Now the Gemara says, V'lei bekdeshus. You can't use hekdesh to redeem. The Gemara says, Pshita, lav didunin. The hekdesh, things that are sanctified, don't belong to you. Of course you can't redeem your son with something that's not yours. It's like the Brooklyn Bridge. Ema, v'lei hekdeshus b'chol elu. It's not talking about what you redeem, it's talking about it's not talking about what you redeem with, it's talking about what you can redeem. It says you can't redeem your son with slaves, documents, and land. You also can't redeem consecrated items with slaves, documents, and land. It's not talking about, doesn't mean you can't redeem your son with slave, documents, land, and hekdesh.
Okay.
This would be the punctuation here is
even then you have to try very hard to put the punctuation in there to make that.
It says viloi twice. That's why. Because it says viloi twice.
Exactly.
It says twice. Viloi. Usually it's once. You say loi, and viloi.
It says viloi 3 times.
Right.
It's got to try very hard to put the punctuation in there to make that work.
That's a good sandwich, though.
Good sandwich, man. Substance.
Be like, don't feed the dog apples, oranges, lemons, and the cat. And then you want to know, well, don't feed the dog the cat, or does it mean don't feed the dog?
Well, this
don't
is the
feed
case.
The cat, apples, oranges,
but this is the case.
That's what
he's saying.
Right.
And he's saying, and the cat is the second thing.
Kasav l'kayin. This was that interesting case where the guy wants to pay the kayan, he can't, doesn't have the money, so he writes a document. It says, I owe the kayan 5 coins. So we said that's going to be a problem because he already owed the kayan 5 coins, and now when he gives the kayan the 5 coins, he's paying his own debt, his new debt that he created with this document. Amar Ula says, when he actually gives the money, according to the Torah, he is redeemed. My time, what's the reason why we say that he's not redeemed when he actually pays the money? We're going to say, people are going to say that maybe he paid it with a document. And if it works, well, here he actually gave money. Why would people think that he's going to, that a document is good enough?
What does it mean, Omar?
Right?
What was the case again?
He
Kosav?
He wrote a document that says that I owe the kayan money, 5 coins, and now he goes and pays that. So according to the Torah, Ula says that he has now redeemed his son. However, the sages said that he has not redeemed his son because people might say that you can use a document that says I owe money.
Right.
Now over here, the concern is that he might use a document that someone else owes him money.
Right.
But here he actually used coins. So why is that a concern? I'm not sure. Tani Tana Kameder Rav Nachman B'nai Padei L'Kashiyitin. There was a student that taught in front of Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman is and there's this generation of Rabbi Yehuda. It's like the second generation. Rav Nachman, Rav Yehuda, and Rav Huna. These are all Rav and Shmuel students. So if someone taught in front of Rav Nachman that B'nai Padoi, L'kashayitim, similar to what Ula said. Let's see if Ula's in the same generation. Ula we had over here. It's a little. So this was taught before, which is interesting.
It says Kosav, and here it's just saying it.
What do you mean? It says
L'kashayitim. Before it says he wrote it down, no?
No, we're talking about that he wrote a document down.
Here again?
Yeah.
Okay.
It says B'nai Padoi, L'kashayitim, when he gives the money. There's a problem here. He has a document and he also has money. He's doing both. The problem is that the money may be paying the document, not the Torah. Right? So...
You mean not the Kohen?
He's paying his
paying
debt.
the Kayan.
He's paying what he promised.
The Torah says that he has to give 5 coins for his son. The guy wants to pay the 5 coins, but instead he writes a document that I owe the Kayan 5 coins. The problem is that now when he goes and he actually pays the 5 coins, is he paying the debt from the Torah, or is he paying his own document that he wrote to the Kayan, and then he's not redeeming his son? So
yeah, but no, like you just said, that was just a promissory note till he paid.
right.
No, but it could have been a return of loan.
So now there's 2 approaches here. One approach is Ula's approach and the Tanna Kameder of Nachman, that really it does redeem his son. But there's a decree, because there was a document that was used, people may say that the document works. And so Rav Nachman says, Zudiv Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda stim ta. This is the words of Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda.